It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Well, a good day to you. Welcome to the program. I'm Brad Miller. It is County-Wide, and we're happy to welcome into studio a guest that we've talked to any number of times. I regret to say it's been too long since Yavapai County School Superintendent Tim Carter has been across the table from me. So we say hello. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Happy. I feel a little bit wistful because I know that your time in this position and serving our schools across Yavapai County, the clock is ticking toward your retirement at the end of this year.
It is, and I'm looking forward to it in some ways, and I will definitely miss this job in a lot of ways.
And we will miss having you represent us as you've done so capably through how many years?
20.
20.
Yeah.
It's a good number to go out on.
I'm coming up on, this is my 51st year in education.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is true service. We'll talk more about that at the end of the year when we get Tim back in here, kind of a career retrospective. I'm going to push him and make him do that. But today there's too much business still at hand in this position, and there's a lot of different kinds of things that I want to talk about in our first of two parts that we'll do with Superintendent Carter today. Let's start with something I know is at the forefront of your mind, is very pressing on you and the county, and that is school board vacancies. Getting people to come out, support their local schools. It can't be any more personal than that kind of relationship that citizens have with their local public school district. And you've got really some issues getting school board vacancies filled.
Well, it has been a challenge, and it's becoming a little bit more of a challenge. We have 25 school districts in Yavapai County. Yeah. 7 of those are in the Verde Valley, and all of them are in the window right now where hopefully candidates come forward. We'll pull a packet, file a little paperwork with our office, get a few signatures on petitions, turn those in, and qualify for the ballot. And then at that point, one of 2 or 3 things is going to happen. If we have the right number of people for the number of seats that are available, we will go to the Board of Supervisors this summer and ask them to cancel those elections and appoint those people as if they had been elected.
And we've seen that before.
We have. And it's usually about a third of our seats.
Yeah, it's happened plenty.
And then we have some situations like we have right now where you have a district that might have 3 seats. They have 2 candidates, but the third seat nobody is running for at this point. So what we would do in that case is we would cancel those 2, and the 1 seat would actually then be on the ballot.
Okay.
And that's about a third. And then, unfortunately, we have some places where there are no candidates for those seats, in which case I have to go through an appointment process, and I have pledged to have all that done before I leave office on December 31st of this year.
Okay.
So if we could entice people to come in and have a chat with us about what that might entail, we're more than happy to do that. Every single one of our districts, with the exception of Sedona, is short candidates at this point. And some of them are 2-year terms and some are 4-year terms.
What do you think is driving, if I can use the term shortage, is there anything happening? It's times for parents and working people are busier than ever. Even retired folks have more demands put on them. Do you think it's just people don't understand what it is? Is there a reason that you can put your thumb on of why?
Well, I think there probably are a lot of reasons. Let me start with the qualifications. I mean, they aren't super difficult, but certainly the qualifications could restrict some people. So a person has to be a citizen of the United States.
Okay.
They have to be a registered voter in Arizona and in the district that they're running in.
Makes sense.
They have to have lived in that district for 1 year immediately preceding them taking office.
Okay.
They can't work for the district. Their spouse can't work for the district.
Sure.
And they can't be a third-party provider to the district because of the financial implications there. And then the last item really is I can't serve on more than one governing board at a time.
Right.
And with 7 governing boards here in the Verde Valley, for example, if a person lives in the city of Cottonwood, they actually live within 3 school districts. They live in the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District, which is an elementary district.
Okay.
They live in Mingus Union High School District, and they live in the Valley Academy of Career and Technical Education, or VACT School District, which is the CTED. So in that situation, that one individual could run for any one of those three boards, but they couldn't run for more than one.
Gotcha.
So that's the first item. The second item is that these are volunteer positions, and at times they can be controversial.
Yeah.
Basically, what boards do is they set the budget for the district, and they are very actively engaged in establishing the policies for the district.
Right.
But all of that is controlled by state statute. Governing boards only have the authority that the state of Arizona gives them. And so sometimes people get in wanting to do something that's very important to them, and then they get into office and they realize the governing board doesn't have the statutory authority to do what I want to do.
Right.
And that can be very frustrating.
And typically, state statute is pretty clear on most issues.
It is very specific when it comes to the two statutes that we deal with. One of the things that the board shall do, they don't have a choice. There are certain things like establishing a budget,
right,
living within that budget, reporting on the budget, having the budget audited. I mean, those things are all very clear in statute.
Right.
But then we have other things that is a may. You may have an athletic program. You may run buses. You may do those kind of things.
Okay.
But if it's not in one of those two lists of either the shalls or the may, it's not something that a board could do.
Okay. And you don't have to be a previous educator. You don't have to have, when we talk about that, I worry that some people simply think that I don't have the qualifications to do this because I don't have a background in education. Perhaps I don't have kids at all, or my kids are grown, or whatever the case may be. Do you find that?
Well, we do. And the reality is it would be nice to have a very well-rounded board. I mean, not all men or all women.
Sure.
Have some younger folks, some middle-aged folks, some older retired folks, some people who are in the business field, some people that are parents, some that may not be. But I think what we're really looking for are people who are community-minded, who want to do a service to their community,
right,
and they like schools and they like kids. And for those folks, it's a very rewarding thing. We've got one board member right now who's in his 43rd year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so you find it, rewarding, but there's also, I mean, the on the ground type of fact that these kids are going to build your future at whatever age you're at. If you're retired now, or a parent now, or in your 30s, early 30s now, whatever the case may be, if you intend on kind of remaining in your community, these are the kids that are going to make it happen for you down the road. And so it couldn't be more, it's like kind of like raising kids in a way, helping them guide through their public school years.
That is certainly true.
There's a petition gathering piece to this if you're going to run. And those numbers aren't daunting. It's not like you got to go out and get 80% of the population.
You're correct. In general, the numbers are not daunting. The statute in Arizona establishes a formula to determine, based on the population that voted in the previous election,
right,
for that seat. So I'm just looking at a few here in the Verde Valley. You would need 18 signatures. I'm talking about valid signatures, people who live in that district.
Right.
If you're in Beaver Creek, you would need 44.
Okay.
If you're in Camp Verde, because Camp Verde is a little bit larger community. You'd need 17 in Clarkdale. You'd need 109 in the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District. And you need 126 in Mingus, because those obviously are larger, and Mingus is a joint district. So, and then we usually suggest to voters or to candidates that they put in a few more just to make sure that all those people truly are registered and they really do live in your district. But no, that is not something that should be really difficult. And they still have all the way through July 8th to get those signatures.
Okay.
The earliest they can file them is June 10th, and then they have to have them filed by July 8th.
I'm going to ask you a question I know you really can't answer, but is there any type of estimate on hours per week, say, that a board member might expect to have to kind of donate?
Great question, and it really depends on the size and complexity of the district.
Sure.
But most of our rural districts, and I would consider all of them in the Verde Valley to be rural districts, we're probably talking about 10 to 12 hours a month.
Okay.
So
a month. Okay.
They would have a packet of material that they would need to read through. Obviously, there are board meetings, and that might be once or twice a month. You have regular meetings and then special meetings at certain times of the year, say when we're adopting budgets. And then people like to see you at, obviously, graduations and the spelling bee and the art show and those kind of things.
In my experience, most board members seem to kind of understand that as a given. That you kind of, and I think 10 to 12, if you're going to be in, you're going to be in. Most people seem to understand that when they get into these kinds of situations. Not always, and sometimes life circumstances will change during a board member's tenure. So things do kind of happen. All those seem reasonable. Tim Carter has thrown his fly into the river here. He's fishing for some board members today. I'll say it that way. Tim won't, but I will, because we need them. They're important. Maybe one of the most important things you'll ever do is volunteer to become part of the backbone of what makes a public school district run. If someone is listening and they do say, well, maybe I can step up, is there a good way? How do they get that ball rolling?
Well, they can certainly go to our website at ycesa.com. It stands for Yavapai County Education Service Agency.com.
Okay.
And there's up on the very top, there's an election tab that you can look at, and there's all sorts of documents. And I'll give people my cell number. If they would like to give me a call and chat with me about one of these potential seats, I'd be happy to talk with them about it. My number is 928-925-6560. They can always come into our office. My administrative assistant and our election coordinator's name is Jen Nelson.
Okay.
And we both would be more than happy to chat with people about this.
Great way to do that. Jump in there and be a part of this. And now, not to discourage anybody from doing this, when we take a short break, when we come back, Tim, I've got to ask you, I believe there is a bill at the state legislative level, I'm not sure where it is, that is talking about encouraging or compelling school boards to become partisan elections. And I didn't know a lot about this. You shared some information off the mic. I'd like to let our listeners in on it. So we'll do that on Countywide. Our guest today, Tim Carter, Yavapai County Schools Director, School Superintendent, rather. And we'll be back to Countywide right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley. And your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau property and casualty insurance company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
We welcome you back to Countywide. Tim Carter, Yavapai County School Superintendent, our guest today. We'll repeat the pertinent information, some of those phone numbers and other ways to reach out if you do indeed have an interest in becoming a school board member in your respective school district. They need you. They need good folks, solid folks who are going to be a part of it, and you will learn and grow and become part of the district the more you get in there. So don't be shy about stepping up. If you got the will and the desire, that's 90% of it. The time would be the other 10% of it to become a part of bigger part of your community and our youngsters' educations. So we'll get back to that before we wrap up the show so you can reach out. All right, there's a bill, I believe, I'm not sure where it is. You're familiar with it, that we're talking about where, what is the word? Turn school board elections partisan, compel them to become partisan? I don't even know how to say this.
It is a bill that is being run by a legislator from Tucson that would require governing board elections to become partisan, which means that you would run as a Republican, an independent, a Democrat, Libertarian,
Like
but you would have to
state
run
election.
as within a party. Currently, school district governing boards, fire districts, water districts, community college districts, and on and on and on, are nonpartisan.
Right.
We don't talk about partisan things. We don't put R&D or I on our information, because the logic is that the topics are different. Number one, the topics that governing boards can talk about, as I've already said, are completely established by statute.
Right.
So if the legislature wants to restrict what a governing board can do, they already have the authority to do that. They can simply say governing boards may not. And that would be within their purview, because that is a partisan view.
Right.
But what governing boards are more concerned about is, we've got a problem in front of us right now. How do we solve this problem? How do I find enough bus drivers to get my kids to school in the morning?
Right. How's
how do-
that a partisan question?
How do I find enough teachers to be willing to come and work for my district for what I can pay them and the benefits? And can they find a home to live in?
Right.
I mean, how can I increase the bandwidth, the broadband width to my campus so my students have better access to the internet? I mean, on and on. Those are practical things that governing boards deal with.
Right.
We don't deal with those things that would be partisan that could go into a bill. Those people, in my view, should run for the legislature. They should run for a statewide office. That's not what governing boards do.
Yeah.
They take the statute, they apply it to their local schools, and they try to resolve problems, whatever those problems might be.
Is this, I'm having a hard time, and I haven't looked into this. I really wasn't even aware of it until this morning that this is even proposed. It's gone through committee, I believe.
It has, and it's the bill also would require a primary.
Yeah,
So I would
complicating
I
things
would
even
have
further.
to run for my party primary in August, or this year it's going to be the last day of July. And then if I won that, I would then have to run in the general election where governing board members run now, because they don't have a primary. It just goes right to the general election. And I would assume that if the election is going to be partisan, that means that county school superintendents would have to only appoint, I'm assuming, within their party.
Right.
So if you had a Republican county school superintendent, you would only be able to appoint Republicans.
Right.
Well, to be quite honest, I've done over 400 appointments in my 20 years in office. And there are some communities that are so heavily one party or the other, to be quite honest, there might not even be a person who would be willing to be appointed from one of those parties. So I see it as being problematic. I'm not sure it's actually going to pass. And I anticipate that even if it did pass, this particular governor probably would veto it.
It seems like, I'm asking you to speculate here, and I know you really can't do it, and it's an unfair question. It just seems like this is maybe a misguided piece trickling down from the national cultural wars, which I'm so sick to death of, and I think a lot of people are. It just feels like that to me.
I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't some of that.
Yeah.
But I also think that part of it, in many cases with a legislator, somebody comes to them with a specific story,
Right.
and they try to create a law to resolve that issue. And many times what we find is that, okay, you might resolve that issue, but now you've created another whole host of issues over here that nobody's thought about of yet.
It's the old, we've got a solution, let's find a problem to apply it to. It almost feels like that. All right. Okay, we need to take another short break. We're moving along very quickly. This is the first of two programs we'll do with Tim. I want to talk, you mentioned broadband, and that's a whole issue that I found fascinating that you shared with me that we'll share with the listeners in our next segment. We're going to have the next show, the next Countywide, will be with Tim Carter. For the moment, we'll take a short break. We'll pause. We'll come back, wrap up quickly, give you some of that information in terms of phone numbers and websites and such, and then we'll prepare and we'll talk a little bit more about broadband coming. And I want to talk a little bit to Tim Carter about the COVID impacts and what some of the lingering malady that COVID bore on our school districts locally, how those things are still being felt and what we're doing to get around that. Again, our guest is Tim Carter, Yavapai County School Superintendent. It's Countywide. We'll be right back after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
Welcome back. Our final segment with Tim Carter, Yavapai County School Superintendent. For this program, again, Tim, our guest, on the next Countywide show, and we'll talk more about a number of things, including broadband internet, what an important role that's going to play. And I want to talk a little bit about COVID and the broadband demand could be arguably driven by COVID and some of the things that the school districts went through. In the meantime, though, once again, let me have you give that pitch. I think it's wonderful. I hope some good folks are listening. I know they are, and are perhaps moved to take part in their communities by becoming school board members or candidates. They can do that how?
Well, they can certainly call me. My phone number is 928-925-6560. You can simply look up Tim Carter online, and I'm pretty sure you'll find me.
You can always call the radio station.
You can always call the station.
We'll
they know where I am most of the time. And we would be more than happy to talk to anybody that has an interest in it. It's not for everybody, but it certainly is an important job, and we definitely would like for people to step up and fill some of these seats. It's important work.
Do you want to mention again some of the specific districts that are really kind of looking? I know really kind of across the county.
Virtually every district in the Verde Valley still has at least one vacancy.
Okay.
Except for Sedona. Sedona has 3 seats, and they have 3 candidates, and that doesn't mean that other people couldn't run for that. They certainly could. But Sedona is the only one right now that has a person for each one of their seats.
Okay. There you go. If you've got 10, 12, maybe 15 hours a month, if you've got really qualifications that mean mostly a good heart and eagerness to not only learn, but to help drive our educations forward and keep our teachers moving along, given the superintendents of the various districts, the principals, all the admins, and everybody from the very top to the very bottom, the push that they need to come in and do their jobs every day. The school board is right in the front of that, and we would encourage anyone with any interest at all to jump on board and help out. You can't do a more probably important service for your local community than to do that. Again, our guest, Tim Carter, Yavapai County School Superintendent. I'm having a hard time spitting that out today. I'm Brad Miller. It's Countywide. We'll see you next time where, again, our guest will be Tim Carter, and we'll be talking about another interesting slate of issues.
This has been Countywide. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday at this time. If you have a topic or guest idea that you'd like to suggest, Email us, news@myradioplace.com.